Welcome to another episode of Chat Sports Talk, and welcome to Week 14 of the 2024 NFL season. That's right, we're done now with the Thanksgiving Gluttony Fest that we all partook in. Hopefully, it had a good eats, good times. So, no, I did. Still got paying for it almost a week later. And then just think about a month and about 3 more weeks, or we get to do it all over again. But anyways. We had a full slate of games for our holiday enjoyment. We're now entering the final stretches of the season. After this weekend, a couple playoff positions have been clinched already. A few other shocking developments did acquire. I'll go over my last week's and performance and kind of dive into Week 14 action. So let's go ahead and revert back to Week 13. The full slate of games. We had a full slate, the 3 games on Thanksgiving, then the one Black Friday game, and then Sunday. And had a lot of great games going back and forth. And all that, I went a whopping 9-7. There's a few games I was expecting certain outcomes to transpire that didn't quite happen, and that so happens to be that. For Thanksgiving, I was 2-1 because I picked Miami and Green Bay. Because during the Thanksgiving games, the road teams won more than home teams. But looking at some of these matchups, I was like, okay, yeah, some of the home teams got it. Kind of went more Miami over Green Bay, so I thought Miami could edge out. Love could have made a bad decision, but didn't quite hamper. The Bears did the typical thing. Struggled early, came back late. Were driving in that fourth quarter. 30 seconds. I think it's like 36, actually, they had left. They took their time getting a play out. I mean, that's ridiculous. They should have a play in mind of what to do next. Maybe you should go, okay, go up there, spike it. Then we go there, run the next play. They just took forever. Caleb Williams saw how much time was left, audibled it, went for broke. That was it. The Bears lost again. And the next day, Eberflus was fired from the Chicago Bears. And I think it was just a matter of time for the Flus was cut loose. Then we head down to Arlington, where the Cowboys were playing host to the Giants. This one, of course, I picked the Cowboys. They didn't look all that great, especially that final frame when the Giants start coming back. Cowboys still held on to win 27-20. Cooper Rush was just effective enough, but there's a lot of problems with the G-men right there. Neighbors had some choice words previously to that game. So they tried to get it more to the ball. He only had 69 yards total, or 69 yards receiving, should I say. But it was just a lackluster game by the Cowboys that would give them false hope. In the stretch of their season, to give them false hope. But we'll progress from there. Tua went up to Green Bay in the cold. Did not perform very well. Packers defense stepped up. Mother Nature was behind Green Bay in this game. Green Bay rolled over Miami 30-17. Then we go to Friday night where the Raiders came in town, and I picked the Raiders. I said there's something wrong with me when I picked the Raiders. The Chiefs, even though they're 11-1, they could find ways to win, are not winning convincingly enough. They're struggling. Mahomes is not Mahomes of past. He's kind of dipped down a bit. His receivers are kind of missing. Kelsey's only had 2 touchdowns the entire season. The running attack has been lacking. Pacquiao came back in this game, so that really helped establish them. Bowers was shown to be the better tight end, making some phenomenal catches. He had 140 yards and a touchdown. But once again, in the fourth quarter, the opposing team was driving. And one of the most boneheaded plays you can make, the center snapped the ball early, hit O'Connell in the shoulder. Ball's loose. Chiefs recover in the game. Once again, Chiefs escaping a loss in a one-score game, but either by the miscues or defensive saving them. I mean, that's how the Chiefs have been winning. And kudos to the Chiefs. They're finding ways to win. That's all that matters. Get the win so you get in the playoffs. But with that win right there, they're in the playoffs. They haven't clinched the West yet, but they're in. And that's all that matters. Because once you hit that second season, the Chiefs just turn it on. They always have, and that part always will, unless they face Cincinnati. Speaking of which, they were hosting Pittsburgh, and I picked Cincinnati to win because of Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow is having MVP numbers. His defense is letting him down. He's doing everything he can to put points on the board, to put pressure on the opposing team, so the defense can take the necessary risk to make turnovers or force 3 and outs. But Russell Wilson, he also had a career game, over 400 yards passing and 3 touchdowns, as they were just able to outgun Cincinnati in the jungle 44-38. And Joe Burrow just having one of those years where he's having great numbers, but his defense is just letting him down. That's the whole problem right now, Cincinnati. In Atlanta, I picked the Chargers to win there. They did, barely. Cousins had 245 yards in the air, but 2 picks, with one of them being returned for a touchdown, was the key factor in this game. Atlanta's defense is doing everything they can. They held the Chargers to 10 points. The Chargers offense to 10 points. The Falcons had 13. They're doing everything right overall, but that pick 6 really stabbed the Falcons right there, as both defenses locked down that fourth quarter, and Chargers escaped Atlanta with a 17-13 win. Arizona, Minnesota. I picked Arizona to win. And they were until the fourth quarter, where Minnesota led the drive, and capping off with a Darnold touchdown pass with a little over a minute left in the game. And that was enough for the Vikings to get that comeback victory against the Cardinals, 23-22. Colts visit New England. I took New England in this aspect. Drake May is another one of these guys has really started to develop himself as a good prospect in there. Richardson has also found ways to be very productive as well in his role in Indianapolis. You get that little time on the bench when he was healthy, really, I think, helped him out. Same thing with Bryce Young in Carolina. We'll get more to that one in a minute. And this was a back-and-forth game between these two, as Richardson threw for a touchdown, ran for 2 more, including one that with 12 seconds left on the clock, where the Colts were able to edge out New England 25-24. Hit the Meadowlands, where the Jets playing host to the Seahawks, and Geno had a subpar type of performance. You saw 206 yards and a touchdown, a little bit better than Aaron Rodgers, but Williams had a 92-yard interception return. Charbonnet had a late touchdown run for the Seahawks, which allowed the Seahawks to top the Jets 26-21. Titans win to Washington. I figured this was going to be Washington's easy win. It was like no contest, as Daniels had 4 touchdowns, and the Commanders rolled Titans 42-19. And to Jacksonville, and we had a bad situation there. I figured the Texans would go in there and win, but I knew the Jaguars should make it close, just because of just how the Jaguars have been kind of playing lately. They find ways to keep it close, but not enough to win the game. Unfortunately, Trevor Lawrence was sliding and I want to get this idiot's name right. I'm going to call him that because he did get suspended by the league for 3 games. He is now appealing that suspension, which is his right to do. Alcier. As Lawrence was sliding, Alcier was coming in. He didn't let up. He threw his elbow straight to the head. Concussed Trevor Lawrence. Bench is cleared. Because you had Jaguars going straight to the defense of their quarterback, which is what you expect, especially offensive linemen. That's what you do. Alcier, yes, should be suspended. 3 games, absolutely, because he does have a track record. Has he been suspended before? No, and that's the 3-game suspension part will be reduced because of that. But player safety must be maintained. Quarterbacks got to know when to slide, when not to slide, find ways to protect themselves. But I think it's unfortunate right now what's going on with the Jaguars. They just have talent and just can't seem to put it together. They're 2-10 so far this season because they end up losing to Houston 23-20. All right, enough about on that subject. Let's go ahead over to New Orleans. Rams came to town. I picked the Rams. Rams didn't win convincingly. They were actually struggling most of the game. It wasn't until that second half where they really started to pick up. And they grinded out a victory, 21-14, to get them 6-6 and still within striking distance of the NFC West Division leaders. Over to Carolina, where the Panthers playing host to the Buccaneers. I picked the Panthers. Mainly because of what they did with Kansas City and, of course, the 2-game winning streak they had prior to the break, coming out of the break. They almost had Kansas City. Kansas City had to get a last-second field goal. Once again, Kansas City finding ways to win, and the Panthers were being very productive. Bryce Young, almost 300 yards, but only 1 touchdown. Once again, he sat out for a bit as Andy Dalton was running the show. Bryce kind of cleared, mentally got prepared, came back in, and he was doing his thing. And I think that's a great aspect. But Baker's also being Baker. He finds ways to keep his team in the contest and find ways to be very competitive. I mean, he's had decent numbers to get out there, and Irving was a huge factor in the Bucs. He had over 150 yards on the ground and a touchdown. And the game went to overtime, and that's where Tampa Bay was able to edge out Carolina 26-23. Down in Baltimore, a battle between King Henry and Saquon Legs Barkley. Lamar Jackson versus Jalen Hurts. Baltimore and Philly, 2 great teams. I think this is the showdown I have for my Super Bowl. This did not go the way I thought it would. It looked great in the beginning. Baltimore was, getting that momentum, and then all of a sudden, Tucker is just not being himself, especially this year. I think he had like 6 or 8 points left off the board. Mixed extra points, field goals. I mean, he's normally Mr. Automatic. You set him up, he makes it. His mind is not in it right now. I don't know what to do for a kicker to get his mind back into it. It's not like Baltimore has a lot of other choices to go to, besides just going for it every time now. But Saquon had a little bit better day in this matchup. We had over 100 yards and a touchdown, as Philly win the Baltimore and won 24-19, giving me my last loss for the week. Buffalo is playing host to the 49ers in the snow. The Bills having a whole bunch of fun. The 49ers weren't because they lost both their running backs. Both went in the IR after this game. The 49ers of the season is definitely in jeopardy because of that aspect. So we'll see what happens next week. And the Bills clinched the East Division once again. So 2 seeds or 2 spots have already been clinched in the AFC. 5 more to go. 4 division stuff for grabs, as well as the number 1 seed. So we'll see what happens with the rest of the season. But yeah, the AFC is getting closer. And part of the most entertaining game of the week, well, besides that Pittsburgh-Cincinnati, that was pretty entertaining. I think watching Buffalo and play in the snow was pretty entertaining. But the Browns visit the Broncos. And these 2 quarterbacks put on a show. James Winston and Bo Nix were just exchanging blows, especially late in the game. It was just Judy had the best game against his former team by any non-quarterback. He set the record for 235 yards and a touchdown. He had a huge bomb where he was just gone. He was gone. I mean, it was just like that. Winston, almost 500 yards and 4 touchdowns. Technically 6, because he did throw 2 pick sixes. Now is like the major difference in this game. Winston had a pick 6 early in the game, which wasn't much, but towards the end, he ended up throwing 2 more picks. One went back like 94 yards back for a touchdown. I mean, it was ridiculous. And then one right in the end zone. The guy didn't go down. He's like, no, I'm running. He's going to try to run it all the way back. Didn't quite happen. Denver's able to hold on, beat Cleveland 41-32. Well, that was week 13 of the books. Now it's time to dive into week 14 and the hangover we have from Thanksgiving weekend, starting the Christmas shopping season. It's that holiday season. The holidays are all upon us. 6 teams are going to have this week off to kind of recuperate. But let's go kick things off this Thursday in Detroit as the Lions play host to Green Bay. Detroit's looking for the sweep of Green Bay. They actually went to Green Bay and won. Goff is going to have a heck of a time. He has now his 9 picks. He's going to probably throw a few more this game. Is it going to be Jacobs or going to be Gibbs? Which running back's really going to thrive in this matchup? Jacobs right now has a little bit better performance. Almost 990 yards on the ground with 8 touchdowns. But right now, Detroit's favored by 3. And I want to go with Green Bay just to kind of throw a monkey wrench in everything, just to kind of support the chaos. But I do think Detroit will edge them out. I think Detroit's that talented. Their defense, I think it's going to be more of a defensive show. Is like which defense will bend? Do we go with the Love, who also likes to throw picks as well? So I think this is going to be one the defense to step in. I wouldn't be surprised if Green Bay won, but I am definitely I will go with Detroit edging out Green Bay in this matchup. On Sunday, we head to Nashville, or Jacksonville comes into town. They may or may not have Trevor Lawrence. Depends if he clears protocols by then. But I think Tennessee is going to be a little bit too much for him. Right now, Tennessee's favored by 3.5. Pollard's having a decent season. Well, Levis, he can keep his mistakes to a minimum. Should have a good time frame. If Lawrence goes, his favorite target, of course, is Thomas. But he doesn't seem to get a lot of touchdowns out of anyone else, because half his touchdowns goes to Thomas. So it makes it easy for defenses to kind of lock on him, because no one else is really stepping up to the plate. But I think if Trevor is going to play this game, he's going to definitely make it close, if not try to win it. But I will go with Tennessee winning at home. The Jets are down to South Beach. I think Miami's going to try to recover from their wounds against Green Bay. The Jets definitely going to make this more of a contest. Aaron Rodgers is going to be warm weather. It's going to be a little bit more flexible. Offensively, they have a lot more weapons, I think, but the defense is going to step up. The Jets' defense is not quite what they've been led to be. Miami's defense definitely took a huge shot in the mouth last week. Froze up. They're going to be playing at home, so they're going to try to defend a little bit better. Miami's favored by 6. I will push back on that one. I will take the Jets for the points, just because I think the Jets going to play this game a little bit more closer than what Miami really wants, but Miami will find ways to win in the end, led by Tua. Kirk Cousins will head back to Minnesota and bring his Falcons in and take on the Vikings. And the way Kirk's been playing, he's going to give the Vikings a few touchdowns. He's been throwing more picks and touchdowns lately, and I won't be surprised if he gets benched in this game. If he has a bad outing that first half, I can see Penix taking over that second half. I think it's come to a point in Atlanta where they probably have to really start to look at it. I will still put Kirk Cousins in there because he's going back to his old stomping grounds. But his interception is going to play a huge factor. Sam Darnold is going to find ways to keep Minnesota, keep Atlanta in the game because that's what he's been doing lately. So it's just like which quarterback can produce the less interceptions, which receivers will be more. I think I put more faith in Jefferson, but I will give it to Minnesota. Right now they're favored by 5.5. I'm not even pushing that spread. I'm definitely going Vikings. And the Saints will go visit the G-Men, and this one I struggle with back and forth because the Saints have opportunities to really thrive, but Carr and injuries have really affected New Orleans. And the Giants, their bright spot right now is their rookie receiver Neighbors. But now having DeVito's quarterback may not be the best option for him. Dan Jones is no longer there. I'm torn. I think the Giants will actually put the Vikings like what they did against Dallas. They stuck around against Dallas. The Dallas has a decent defense, a decent offense, and they stuck around. The Saints struggled a bit with the Rams, but the Rams also have Matthew Stafford. So because of that, because of the lack of quarterback ability, should I say, I will give it to New Orleans to win this game. Right now they're favored by 4.5, but I would take the Giants for the points because I think the Giants will keep this close. Just because, injuries will play a huge factor for the Saints, but I still think the Saints will come out on top. Carolina will head to Philly. Right now the line's 12.5. Have you not seen how Carolina's been playing? I understand what Philly's been doing, especially that game against Baltimore has really elevated the stock of the Eagles, especially that NFC race. When you look at it, it's like, okay, you got Lions, you got Vikings, they both have issues at quarterback. But Philly is like, well, they limit the quarterback option. It's, can you stop the run? Barkley's almost has 1,500 yards. He's trying to set the single season record. He's right now number 2 in the MVP standings right now. But I think Philadelphia should beat Carolina. I don't know if it's going to be by 12.5, which they're favored by. I'm more inclined to go 10. But definitely we'll go with Philadelphia with this one. Then Cleveland will head into Pittsburgh looking for a sweep of their divisional series, and I don't think they're going to get it. Right now, the way Pittsburgh's kind of playing, they're after getting embarrassed in Cleveland last week, they outgunned Cincinnati. I think that's what they're going to look to do against Cleveland. I mean, Cleveland may put up the points. James Winston, he can show he can do that. He did it against Pittsburgh. He did it against Denver. He could put up the points. He also throws the picks. Myles Garrett and T.J. Watt will be huge factors in this game. Russell Wilson has actually stepped up and started becoming a little bit more of a factor as well. Can the Browns stop Najee Harris? They did last time. Pittsburgh favored by 6.5. I'm taking Cleveland for the points. I think this is going to be a very close game. But I do think Pittsburgh's going to be a little too much for them. I am taking the Steelers to win at home, but I think it's going to be closer than 6.5. Out to Tampa Bay to play host to the Raiders. The Raiders had that great game against Kansas City. And if it wasn't for the boneheaded play in the fourth quarter, they could have tied it or even won it. Tampa Bay struggling against Carolina, which I thought they were going to lose that game, but ended up winning anyways. Tampa Bay's going to find ways to win. Can they slow down Bowers? That's going to be a huge factor for them. Can they slow down Max Crosby and greeting Baker Mayfield in the backfield? That's going to be another factor. Tampa's favored by 6.5. I'm not going to push back on those points either. I think Tampa Bay is a little bit better aspect-wise, but I am also going with Tampa Bay. Seattle will head down to Arizona. They're looking for a divisional sweep. Yes, the Cardinals looking to defend their home and get back, into that race because they're only one game behind Seattle for the division. It's going to be one of those tough divisions. The NFC West and South, you're probably going to have a team might go in there at 8-9, hosting a 10-win or a 12-win team. Makes no sense, but it's just how the plays are set up. Geno should have a good game. He will probably make other more boneheads because right now he has about as many touchdowns as he does interceptions. He has actually a little bit more touchdowns than interceptions by one, but still, he's a one-for-one type of individual. He will give you some good passing downs. Kyler Murray is just quietly doing his own thing. Arizona's favored by 2.5. I like those odds as well. I'm also going with the Cardinals. Out to SoFi as the Bills come to town. And this one, I kind of torn it a little bit about because you have two great quarterbacks, Stafford and Allen, going at it. Stafford has more toys to pick up the slack, but Allen is just one of these guys you just can't stop. He's a factor all on his own. He spreads the ball around. People step up and make the catches, so it definitely makes things interesting for them. But the Rams always find ways to make things interesting and to keep games close and probably win games when they shouldn't win. Right now, the Bills are favored by 5. I struggle with this one. I almost went with the Rams just because of that aspect, but right now I'm just hyping on this Bills train until it derails. Probably towards in the season when they don't have anything else to play for, you probably see them lose more games, especially if their spot is locked. But right now, I think they're trying to keep pace with the Chiefs, put pressure on the Chiefs to get them to that next level, try to get that home field advantage, try to have everything go through Western New York instead of the plains of Western Missouri. But I'm giving it to the Bills. They're fair, like I said, they're favored by 5. I like those odds as well. I'm taking the Bills. Then the Bears will head into San Francisco with a new head coach. The 49ers have no running backs. The two main, Mason and McCaffrey, are both out for injury on the IR. Definitely issues. Purdy still has his receiving core intact, so that's going to be a huge factor for San Francisco, or for the Chicago to take into account. Can the Bears sidestep Bosa and find ways to make Caleb Williams more enjoyable, or not enjoyable? That's probably a bad word, but more successful. Like I said, these past few games, he's been kind of averaging about 300 yards passing with 2.5 touchdowns, so he does have some good numbers. Then does the change of the head coach help or hurt him? It's going to be the question in this game. Do the injuries to the running back core help the Bears and hurt the Niners, or have no effect on the Niners? That's going to be another question asked. All right, now San Francisco's favored by 4.5. And this may be just blind devotion I have for Chicago. But I'm going to take the Bears to win on the road. I don't know. I think the season for San Francisco, I had better hopes for them. But injuries have been a huge factor in this team. And if they could find a system where Caleb Williams actually, performs better, that's probably where the Bears are going to go with. This is going to be a huge test in that aspect. Can they win without Eberflus? It's going to be the question. I think the Bears can edge out the Niners in this game and win, and finally get that comeback win like they did against Tennessee at the beginning of the season, where they came back to beat Tennessee at home. They've been trying to do these comeback wins for these like past 3 weeks and always falling short. I think this week they actually prevail and get that comeback victory, but I'm going Bears. The Chargers will head to Kansas City for a key divisional clash in AFC West. It's very much to see where the Chiefs get the division, because right now they haven't clinched it yet. But I think they beat the Chargers, they will get it. And the Chargers have been kind of inconsistent. The Chiefs have been not very dominant, you can say. They always seem to find ways to win. That's the whole thing. They find ways to win. They make it a team effort. Having Pacquiao back, it's going to be a huge factor. You also have Kareem Hunt back there as well, so you have a nice combo of running backs for the Chiefs. Kelsey's not he's still a clutch receiver. He's not the receiver. The Chargers keep finding ways to wins, and then they don't really put up a lot of offensive numbers either, so it's going to be, I think, a low defensive game. The Chiefs' defense has been kind of bending more and breaking here and there than they really should, so it's not really a highlight to this team like it was last year. So it's going to be a statement game by both these teams. And I was going to go with the Chargers in this game. But when all said and done, the Chiefs always find ways to win, even though the games I picked them to lose, they almost lose, but they find ways to get there either, like I said, defense makes a stop, or the other team just does a boneheaded play. But I'm going with the Chiefs on this one. I think Chiefs going to end up winning this game, clinch the division. But I think sooner or later, time's going to finally catch up to the Chiefs. I'll probably lose a couple games here, but so far, I haven't seen it happen yet. Every time I think they will, they don't. And then Monday night, the Bengals will head to Arlington, take on the Cowboys, and this game had higher hopes at the beginning of the season, a battle between Burrow and Dak. That's not the case this time around. Cooper Rush is the starter. Dak's gone for the season. Joe Burrow is having this phenomenal year. 30 touchdowns. He's thrown for 30 touchdowns. I mean, when you score 30 points in the game and still lose, that says a lot about your defense. And which defense is really going to step up? Can Burrow get away from Michael Parsons? And can they alleviate that problem and get out to Chase and T. Higgins quicker to eliminate that potential threat? Cooper Rush will be successful against this defense. Once again, this game will give Dallas fans false hope. Right now, Cincinnati's favored by 5.5. I, too, am going with the Bengals. I think the Bengals are due for a win of these games. It's kind of shocking they haven't done it yet. The defense has been letting them down. I don't know. Like I said, Joe Burrow is due to have a game where he scores 30 points and still wins the game. And I think right now they have the most, I think, in NFL history of games where they scored 30 or more points and still lose. And they got to get rid of that. I think they're going to do it this week. It's going to be close. I might take Dallas for the points just because I think it's going to be closer than that, just because of the Cincinnati's defense. But I am taking the Bengals to win on Monday night. Well, there you go. There's Week 14 games out there. I don't think I went in too many ledges this time. I mean, I think maybe Chicago and Cincinnati might be. Maybe Kansas City even. Who knows? But let me hear your take of next week's games. Let me hear your take about the Alshire hit on Trevor Lawrence. Where you stand on that aspect? Are your teams still vying for a playoff position? Is your Super Bowl picks still able to be there? I already had a preview of my Super Bowl. Maybe they get there, maybe they don't. Who's your front runner for MVP? Let's mix it up in the comments below. Really helps the algorithm out. Really helps boost this video out. And then anything you do is hit the thumbs up, especially like the ramblings of this old man. He just kind of goes to side quest and gets on soapboxes there so often and butchers the English language. Only greatly appreciated. That way you can support this channel subscribing. It's absolutely free. It doesn't cost you a dime. It just helps me out to provide more entertaining value for you. Only thing you have to do is hit that subscribe button. Click that bell icon to turn notifications. Let you know next time I post any more content on my channel. And I'll see you next time on Chat Sports Talk.